Welcome to Beneath the Surface with TJ Woodward and Rachel Kove. In a world that often moves quickly and stays on the surface, this is a space where we slow down and turn inward. Together, we explore what lives beneath our stories, our reactions, and the ways we've been conditioned to see ourselves, others, and the world. We dive into themes of recovery, trauma, identity, polarization, and conscious living. Let's begin. Welcome back, and we are ready to dive beneath the surface once again. I'm here with Rachel Kove, and what we're going to be exploring right now is beneath the surface of recovery, a deeper dive into all things recovery, and looking at the layers of this.
Whoa, this is a big one for me. This is a really big one for me because on a very deep personal level, this has probably been the most difficult thing to make contact with, my truth around it, my real truth around it, because it wasn't just making contact with my truth, but it was seeing how this truth can possibly be other people's truth that may be suffering with what I was suffering with as well, which really was this idea of, what if I'm not sick? What if I don't have a disease? And I know that is going to activate so many people. And I have to ask why. Why is that so activating? And I also have to ask, why do you need to be sick? Why do you need to have a disease? And I really also get the paradigm of it all. When one can't stop drinking or using, or they have an experience where evidence is showing them, I'm not able to stop drinking or using substances or any behavior, but let's just stick with substances for this. And you don't know what's wrong and you don't know why. And you keep trying to stop and you cannot find yourself having an experience where you stop, or have an experience where you say, I'm going to have one drink, and you actually just have one drink. And it feels like something else is in control of you. It's almost a relief to find out, wow, it's because I have a disease.
You know what? It's more than almost a relief. My experience at 7 days sober, and I can still remember sitting on my couch and having the awareness that I'm not a bad person, I'm a sick person. And I remember crying with relief.
Yeah.
So there is a place for that.
Yeah.
And the paradigm that has been established as it being a disease was a radical shift in consciousness in 1935 from we're degenerate to we're sick. And yet now it's time, in my experience and my opinion, I suppose, to move to the next level. And traditional recovery says more will be revealed, and more is being revealed. So I like to say it this way. If it is a disease, that's not the end of the story, because as we discussed in our last episode, to shift from who I am to what I have. So even if it is a disease, like I like to say, even if it is, I could opinionate about that, but let's just for the sake of this say, what if it is? If it's something I have, not who I am, then it also means I can start to change that. I have sat in recovery groups where I have literally heard someone tell the most horrific trauma and then literally say, but that's not why I drank. I drank because I have a disease called addiction. And I'm thinking, you literally knew or know that there's a connection to the trauma because you just spent 20 minutes sharing your horrifically traumatic story, and yet then it gets dismissed into, I just have a disease. There are so many layers to this, and I know that we're going to explore those layers.
Yeah. Well, it's a very layered experience. And when we talk about the relief of hearing, oh, it's because you're sick and I'm sick, the relief comes from the experience of certainty. Mm-hmm. My best friend Joe Tabanella will talk about that we all have a need for certainty. And that's why habit and routine calms the body. It's certainty. I know I'm going to do that. Okay. We all also have this fear of being out of control and this fear of the unknown, right? I would rather know what something is than not know. Okay, so here's the thing. You tell me I'm sick. Okay. You stop drinking. Okay, you have 7 years sober. How'd you do that? Well, I said I was an alcoholic and my life is unmanageable. Okay. Well, I naturally have a need to belong and to fit in. I need connection, and that's at the root of what's actually going on. Is I'm starved from connection, presence, true safe connection and presence. And my body is so riddled with stress that I have no idea what actual safe connection feels like, right? But now I'm in a group of people that love me no matter what, right? That don't reject me when I share something bad I did. In fact, they embrace me more and they reward the war stories, right? That feels really comforting.
Yeah.
The connection is what I'm needing. It's not to admit I'm an alcoholic. That's just the awareness. That's the awareness. Every person I've ever worked with, thousands of people that I've worked with, you remove the alcohol and you remove the drugs. They don't get better.
Right.
I mean, things circumstantially improve for a little while. What they're then met with is all of the emotions that they have been using alcohol and drugs to escape from, right? Alcohol and drugs was creating an experience of relief and relaxation in the body. That's what they were seeking. That's what I was seeking. Absolutely. And I want to be very clear that Alcoholics Anonymous has wonderful benefits. Being a part of that 12-step program, honestly, like saved my life.
Yeah.
I don't believe it was admitting I was an alcoholic that saved my life.
Yeah. It was the connection.
Yes.
It was the experience of unconditional love.
Yes.
There is no organization that I know of that does that better for people who are struggling with addiction, because
Yes.
pretty much anywhere in the world you can walk into a meeting and you can find a room full of mostly well-intentioned people.
Yes.
And therefore, it's a very beautiful thing that I want to honor and have utmost respect for.
Yes.
And at the same time, you said something that's so important, and that is the need for connection, the longing for connection can become dogmatic because in order to connect, I have to believe all this and I have to start saying all of this, even if I want to question some of it. And you talked about the need for certainty and also working with thousands of people. The most dysregulating thing for people in early recovery, and it could also be true for any human being, is the not knowing. Mm-hmm. Being in the not knowing is so dysregulating. And you said something so important. For me, when I drank and used for the first time at age 14, when I ingested that substance, I felt whole and perfect again, like I did when I was a pre-programmed human, before the trauma, before the shame. And it's important to acknowledge the brilliant strategy that alcohol is and was. Of course, it quit working, because if it's working, we don't call it addiction, we call it fun. And then when it became less fun and I needed to do something with it, then I found a group of people who loved and accepted me. And then that became the thing that I was craving to calm the nervous system. But what you said is so important, and I'm going to share it in my own journey. I was 18 months sober, roughly. I'm not necessarily the best reporter of time. Somewhere in the 18-month range, I found myself suicidal. And here's what people said to me. Not one, not two, but several. Oh, don't worry about anything but not drinking. Your life is a miracle. Now go help someone else. And I was like, I just told you I want to die. That's when I met my mentor, Mary Helen, who took me on this very different journey, a journey of rediscovering my true nature and pretty much unlearning all the stuff that I gathered up along the way. So this desire for connection can become a dogmatic positioning. It did for me, because when I was 1 year sober, I would have told you exactly that there was only one way to get sober. This was the way, this is the one and only way. And if you read this page number, you'll find some relief from the experience you're having. Because I hadn't yet had the courage or the ability to feel what I had been running from for decades, or well, years in my case.
Yeah, and it's the power of the group, which we're designed to seek. As children, the people that are bigger than me know better than me. The people that are taller than me can protect me. The people that have more wisdom, I'm naturally drawn to provide me with the answers on how to be human, right? So if I'm in a group full of people and I feel lost and they're telling me that if I just admit this, that you're sick, right? That your life is unmanageable, that you have this quote unquote allergy, right? Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
But can we also talk about the fact that by the time I was 11 years old, well, maybe I was 13. I would say by the time I was 13 years old, I had attempted to end my life 3 times in the way that I could think of doing.
Yeah.
Right? You take that girl and you put her in a 12-step program, and then you tell her that she is sick and has a disease, a girl that's already riddled with pain and shame and feeling like I'm already bad, right? I'm already coming into this group feeling like I'm a horrible person, feeling like I don't fit in, feeling like no one's going to understand me, feeling like I'm just this broken person. And then you tell me it's because I'm sick. For me, it got to a point where that language was doing more harm for my growth.
Well, here's the thing. Shame doesn't heal shame.
Right.
And yet, on an unconscious level, and I'll put it in the I was seeking someone to see me as broken or damaged or shameful. And it wasn't conscious, because on a conscious level, I was enjoying or wanting or thriving or thirsting for love. On an unconscious level, I was believing when someone said you're damaged or broken, you're bodily and mentally different than other people. You have this thing that's a disease, but it's more than that. You are diseased. And that worked really well in the beginning. And like you, there was a time when I started to question the paradigm, not the support group itself, because it's still doing beautiful things. But for myself, I had to start questioning the narrative. I remember walking up, to a support group, and my friend was like, "Here comes another effed up drunk," and I'm like, "No, thank you. Please don't. I don't use." And I said to him, "I don't use that language about myself because it keeps me feeling stuck and shameful." And he's like, "Well, okay then," right? Another example, and I'm going to tell 2 quick stories. Another example was my friend who shared, "I'm 26 years sober, but I don't know how to have relationships because I'm an effed up alcoholic." And I thought, there was something, Rachel, within me that said that cannot be my reality. And it shifted for me instantly. And I started to question everything.
Yes.
And questioning everything is what started to change things. And I want to just share this, and believe it or not, we're almost at the end of our 15 minutes. I know I kind of like this 15-minute thing. It's cool. We maybe have like a little countdown timer. But I recently created a product with wholehearted.org, who I create products with. And I worked all day or 2 days, I don't even remember, maybe 2 days, with clients in treatment. And I started by saying, how many people in this room have been told they have a chronic lifelong illness that can never be cured? And every hand went up. And I said, how many of you believe that? And a couple of hands went up. And I said, it's okay if you believe it. And then a couple more. And then I just said, how many want a different possibility? And everyone raised their hand. And so we're on the precipice of radical change in the paradigm that is addiction. And it's not about being for or against. That's the mind. The mind wants to be for or against. It's like, I want to question the assumptions, because the assumptions create the shared experience.
Yeah, and I really believe it takes an immense amount of courage to question the assumption. Leaving that paradigm was the scariest thing I've ever done, because I was told over and over again, if you leave these groups, you're going to die.
Yeah, you'll die.
And I was told that from 16 years old up until I decided to leave those groups. which was, I think I was 25 or 26. And again, like you said, both can be true. It does so much good. It did so much good. The 12 steps are a phenomenal outline for life. And we also need to start adding in some more awareness around what else could be helpful. What other ways of approaching addiction could be beneficial? How could we use 12 steps and
That's right.
conscious recovery? How could we use 12 steps and trauma-informed modalities? How can we use 12 steps and psychedelic-assisted therapy? How could we use 12 steps and EMDR? What if you don't want to do 12 steps, right? Are you going to die? I sure hope not, right? I had cancer. I'll wrap it up with this. I had cancer when I was 16 years old, right? I survived. It was an absolute moment of time where if they didn't catch it, I was going to die, right? I'm a parent. My first thought is, I hope I have my kid. I hope my kid has this disease forever.
Right.
No, it's how do we remove the cancer? So for me, it's not about removing the alcoholic. It's about understanding what created the alcoholic.
That's right.
It's not about the alcoholic. It's what created it.
Yeah, because alcohol is the symptom and alcohol is the solution. It's not the problem. And when we get down to the deeper issues, it is, in my experience, unresolved trauma, spiritual disconnection, and toxic shame.
Yes.
I know we could talk for another half an hour about this.
Yes.
For sure. Perhaps we'll do a part 2 on recovery because there's so much to unpack here. But as always, Rachel, thank you. And we have definitely gone beneath the surface. Thank you, everyone. Until the next time.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Beneath the Surface. As we close, we invite you to notice what may still be resonating or unfolding within you. There's no need to resolve anything, just allow it to be met with curiosity and compassion. If this conversation was meaningful, please subscribe, share the episode, or leave a review. It helps others discover this space and continue the conversation. Until next time, be gentle with yourself, stay present, and keep exploring what lives beneath the surface.